men and 60 women, one for each year of the Queen's life. Now, it's only the third time the ceremony has been held in the south. Previously, it was at Salisbury in Winchester. Today, it was the turn of Chichester. This report from Chris Peacock.
Maundy Thursday, the day before Good Friday, and the Queen and Prince Philip have come to Chichester. For centuries, the ceremony of distributing money to the poor took place in London. But the Queen has made a point during her reign of widening its interest to the shires beyond. It was a gusty spring morning as the Queen, warmly wrapped in a blue wool coat, was welcomed by the Dean and Chapter. She had come to Chichester to take part in a tradition that dates back to the Last Supper, when Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. As head of the established church and sovereign it is claimed by divine right, the Queen dispenses Maundy money as a gift to the same number of pensioners equalling her age. In 3 weeks' time, the Queen will be 60, so the same number of men and women from the diocese were waiting to receive it. The Maundy money, in white and scarlet pouches, was carried aloft on dishes of gold by Her Majesty's Yeomen of the Guard. And then the Queen moved forward to meet the recipients, selected from the diocese for Christian service to the community. All of them will have helped others through efforts great and small that probably until today have gone unsung. This then was an opportunity for the Queen to say thank you and well done. Outside the cathedral, the Yeomen of the Guard, an order created by Henry VII and the oldest military corps in existence, lined up as it was time for the royal party to leave. The Queen was carrying the traditional Maundy posy, made up of spring flowers and sweet-smelling herbs. In medieval times, they were carried by the sovereign for protection against foul smells and infection. Modern hygiene makes it the custom today. And then the formality faded as the Queen received the first of many flowers from the crowd. Spring snowdrops, a perfect offering for Maundy Thursday. Inside North Street, 5,000 people waited to greet the royal couple. Just time for a tea break before they arrived. The scene was a familiar one, both for the Queen and Prince Philip. Very often, the royal couple find this is the best part of the day, meeting the people of the town or city they've come to visit.
Surprising how nice she is, isn't she?
Why is it surprising?
Well, I mean, she's got a lot on her mind, hasn't she?
We watched her at the cathedral, then we went up to St Richard's Way, we watched her again while the car drew up. Absolutely marvellous she looked, and super, so proud of her.
So many bunches of flowers, most of them picked from local gardens by young and old, all anxious to make sure she noticed them. The police stood out as well. You don't feel a bit of a Charlie left holding the flowers?
Yes.
The Queen will be 60 on April the 21st. Her first Maundy service as sovereign was in 1952. Since then, she's done much to widen the appeal of the monarchy and make it more accessible to the people, without removing the magic. One of the reasons why the Queen is still visibly popular is that she has managed to change with the times without appearing to do so. She took home a bottle of Victorian milk punch, brewed courtesy of the Royal Arms Inn. How lethal is it?
Well, I think it's quite powerful. We've had enough of it.
What the Queen made of it, we will never know. But the people of Chichester were convinced their royal visitor had been the real tonic.
The Queen in Chichester.
60 men and 60 women, one for each year of the Queen's life, received specially minted silver coins in 1, 2, 3 and 4 penny pieces. It's a ceremony that dates back 800 years. Bruce Parker reports.
It's the first time the Queen has been to Sussex for the Maundy ceremony. It was thought particularly appropriate that the service should be held in Chichester Cathedral this year. The 3 centuries-old organ, silenced for many years, has just been completely restored. The Queen's forthcoming 60th birthday was reflected in this morning's ancient ceremony. By tradition, the gifts of Maundy coins were distributed to the number of men and women corresponding to the Queen's age. The Maundy service is a particular favourite of the Queen. It was her decision to move it from time to time away from London, where it used to be exclusively held. After the service, the Queen went walkabout in Chichester. Spring flowers may be late this year in the south of England, but there was no shortage here. In fact, there were so many gifts of flowers for the Queen that 5 police officers had to be detailed to carry them.
And that was the 6 o'clock news on Maundy Thursday, the 27th of March. The Samaritan...
Now on BBC
One, a special Maundy Thursday edition of South Today, presented by Bruce Parker, Debbie Thrower and David Icke.
Bouquets for the police in Chichester, temporary guardians of Her Majesty's flowers.
Good evening to you and welcome to this Maundy Thursday edition of South Today. We've a full report on today's historic events in Chichester.
We've also been to one of the South's biggest hospitals where nurses are leaving because there's a shortage of nurses. And we're joined by David Icke.
Well, in sport tonight, the marvellous story of Tim Wootton, a youngster with cystic fibrosis who's become a hockey international. And there's also news of the sport you can see this Easter weekend.
But first tonight, the city of Chichester celebrates its most historic day for centuries. The cathedral played host to the Royal Maundy service for the first time in 900 years. Afterwards, the Queen was cheered by thousands as she walked through the city streets. And it was flowers all the way.
It's the first time the Queen has been to Sussex for the Maundy ceremony. It was thought particularly appropriate that the service should be held in Chichester Cathedral this year. The 3 centuries-old organ, silenced for many years, has just been completely restored. The Queen's forthcoming 60th birthday was reflected in this morning's ancient ceremony. By tradition, the gifts of Maundy coins were distributed to the number of men and women corresponding to the Queen's age. The Maundy service is a particular favourite of the Queen. It was her decision to move it from time to time away from London, where it used to be exclusively held. It's already been held in Winchester and Salisbury. Outside the west door of Chichester Cathedral, a word for the local children who, like the royal party, carried the traditional nosegays of spring flowers and herbs. After the solemn ceremonial inside the cathedral, it was time for the Queen to meet the ordinary folk of Chichester. And what a day it turned out to be. Even seasoned royal followers couldn't remember such a walkabout. Spring flowers may be late this year, but there was absolutely no shortage whatsoever here. Single blossoms, small bunches, large bouquets, they turned into armfuls of flowers, with 5 police officers detailed to carry them. A small boy was almost bowled over because the Queen actually looked him straight in the eye.
And then she sort of looked into my eyes.
She's what?
Well, I just looked into her eyes and it's amazing. She was just looking at me. And I mean, I never thought I would ever get that close. So I sort of arrived here late and I thought I'd be back in the queue. I got all the way up to the top.
So you looked into the Queen's eyes and she looked into yours?
Yes.
So that's the biggest moment of your life so far?
I think we were overwhelmed with her coming up to us so closely. She was marvellous. She came right here.
She looked really lovely today,
Oh,
didn't
she did. Beautiful. Yes. She's the same age as I am, but she's worn better, I think.
She's wearing an outfit exactly the same colour as your hat. So that was well thought of, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Then came a presentation from mine host at the Royal Arms Inn, a special milk punch.
Is it fit for a Queen?
I think so, yes.
Strong?
The work that's gone into it's fit for a Queen, anyway.
Is it strong, though?
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's a gallon of brandy to start with. So if you get the gun and brandy and anything, it's quite good, isn't it?
So can you suggest what sort of proof it might be?
I would think it'd be about sort of 77 proof. 70 to 80 proof.
So the Queen needs to get home before she drinks it?
I would suggest so. I'll get her shoulder dryer.
But finally, it was the police who were left holding the flowers.
Yes, well, just thankfully it isn't the summer season and I suffer from hay fever, so it's the winter, I'm all right.
You look rather colourful.
Thank you very much.
There are a lot of them, aren't there?
Quite a lot, yes. We've got to sort the best bunches out and save some of those. And anything we find in the way of cards will be saved and obviously they'll be answered.
And they're all going to be given to the Queen later?
Yes.
What have you got here? Heather? Carnations?
Daffodils and all sorts.
Tremendous selection, isn't there?
It's lovely, isn't it? A tremendous response. We weren't expecting anything like this.
You didn't expect to be carrying flowers at the end of the walkabout today?
Well, yes, we expected to be carrying the flowers, but not this many. Nowhere near.
Wonderful, isn't it?
It is. Super.
So the turn of Chichester for this year's Maundy service. But we move on now for...